System of a Down drummer John Dolmayan has been keeping himself busy during System of a Down's hiatus, whether it be recording with Scars on Broadway or his latest business endeavor, Torpedo Comics. With a catalog of over 15 million rare comics and vintage artwork, Torpedo Comics has always been a labor of love for Dolmayan, who used to collect comics growing up as a kid. Just recently, Dolmayan won an internet auction for the 1938 edition of Action Comics #1, which he purchased for $317,000. It is one of the highest prices a comic book has ever sold for and features Superman lifting a car on its cover. Artisan News caught up with John Dolmayan at Torpedo Comics' warehouse in Las Vegas to get his thoughts on the incredible feeling he has when he gets his hands on a rare comic.
But there's a few standout pieces that I pursued and was lucky enough to find. You know, it's basically stuff that I grew up with, stuff that I was interested in when I was collecting comics, and to own the original cover or a storyline or something like that is pretty incredible.
Dolmayan also talked about having a knack for comic book collecting.
I've been collecting comics for well over 20 years, and at a certain point, I couldn't afford to buy my comics anymore, so I started selling comics, to make the money to buy new ones. And I noticed that I had a knack for it, and I enjoyed it.
Only about 100 copies of Action Comics #1 are known to exist, and they are rarely up for sale. The man who previously owned the book purchased it at a secondhand store in the early 1950s when he was 9 years old for 35 cents. Even though Dolmayan purchased the comic for a private collector, Torpedo Comics already has a stunning collection of memorabilia, which includes rare items like Sensation Comics issue #1, the first solo series featuring Wonder Woman, just about every key issue of Marvel and DC Comics, including Marvel Comics' issue #1, multiple copies of giant-size X-Men #1, plus superhero action figures from Marvel, X-Men, Superman, and Batman titles. Although no official breakup announcement was ever released, it seems Scars on Broadway have decided to call it quits, as in a recent interview, bassist Dominic Cifarelli revealed the band is pretty much over.
My self-righteous suicide, I cry.